بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
What is the purpose of sunnah, and isn't the Quran enough for guidance? There are some people who so-called modernist inverted commas will say, isn't the Quran sufficient? Why do you require the sunnah of the Prophet? Meaning, why do you require the hadith? Faith will realize that the sunnah of the Prophet, the hadith, it is unavoidable second source of Islam. The sunnah, the authentic saying of the Prophet, his saying, his actions, they are very important for us to understand the glorious Quran. And in fact, the sunnah of the Prophet, it is the commentary of the glorious Quran. There are certain verses which may not require any commentary. They are clear cut. For example, Qul huwallahu ahad. Say Allah is one. To understand this is very simple and easy. It does not require any commentary. But there are certain verses which without the sunnah or without the hadith, you cannot follow the verses. For example, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that a Muslim who's rich, he should give zakat. Now, how much percentage? The details are not mentioned in the glorious Quran. How much percentage should you give is not mentioned in the glorious Quran. But when you refer to the sunnah of the Prophet, when you go to the hadith, you come to know that a Muslim who is rich, he should give 2.5% of his wealth for charity, whether it be gold, money, silver, or foodstuff. He should give 2.5% of that for charity. So the sunnah of the Prophet, they are very important for us to understand the glorious Quran, without which we cannot follow certain verses of the glorious Quran. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that verily the Prophet, he is a good practice of conduct. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the glorious Quran that Ati'ullah wa Ati'ur Rasul. Obey Allah and obey his messengers. And obeying Allah is like obeying the messenger, and obeying the messenger is obeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in several places in the glorious Quran, Ati'ullah wa Ati'ur Rasul, and it's mentioned in Surah Imran chapter 3 verse 32, Surah Imran chapter 3 verse 132. It's mentioned in Surah Nisa chapter 4 verse 59. It's mentioned in Surah Ma'idah chapter 5 verse 92. It's mentioned in Surah Anfal chapter 8 verse 1, Surah Anfal chapter 8 verse 20, Surah Anfal chapter 8 verse 46. Ati'ullah wa Ati'ur Rasul. Obey Allah and obey his messengers. In several places, it's mentioned in Surah Nur chapter 24 verse 54, Surah Nur chapter 24 verse 56. It's mentioned in Surah Mujadila chapter 58 verse 13, Surah Taqabun chapter 64 verse 12. Ati'ullah wa Ati'ur Rasul. Obey Allah and obey his messengers. So in fact, the sunnah of the Prophet, it is unavoidable second source of Islam, and we have to follow the sunnah, because without which we cannot follow certain verses of the glorious Quran. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.